Okay, the real reason that you have Candida symptoms still isn't because you haven't gone completely no sugar in your diet. It isn't because you eat gluten occasionally. And it isn't because you've consumed kefir or kombucha and maybe you are somehow gleaning the yeasts from there that are feeding your pathogenic yeasts. That's not how it works. But I am seeing some dumb stuff out there on the internet right now. So in this video, I'm going to share with you why your body won't get rid of Candida. I'm going to give you 3 reasons. The last one is going to be probably the most significant reason, but I do want to say that steps 1 and 2 are pretty foundational here. And I got one of my clients on just those first 2 steps, and she was passing Candida in her stool within just 3 days of making these simple adjustments. Hi, my name is Selena from Wholeness Campaign. I've recovered from IBS, parasitic infection, Lyme's disease, asthma, allergies, a host of neurological symptoms associated with multiple severe concussions, all of this using food as medicine, and it is my passion to help others do the same. If you're new to my channel and you're interested in getting to the root of your chronic symptoms naturally with a gut-first approach, consider subscribing. I make new videos here every single week to help you overcome your chronic symptoms naturally. So let's jump into number 1. Number 1 is that you're not consuming fermented foods or you're not consuming enough of them. This is a true story. I recently was on TikTok and I found a video that one of you guys sent to me where the lady was ripping on kombucha and sauerkraut, saying that it causes yeast symptoms. And people who don't have the right framework end up sometimes thinking this, but she had around 200,000 subscribers and she was telling people to never have fermented foods because she thinks that they cause yeast overgrowth in the body, and that if you have Candida or if you show signs of Candida and you're still eating those, that's why. Because somehow there's yeast in the air that is getting into your ferment, that is colonizing your ferment with pathogenic yeast, and when you drink it, you are consuming it and it is somehow causing all of your symptoms. And you guys, this is, first of all, a very fear-based way of looking at things, but second of all, it is totally incorrect. And it's actually the cycle that keeps people really stuck in their symptoms because they end up avoiding the very thing that they need. It's very common to get symptoms, die-off symptoms actually, that's what we call them, from taking probiotics. I would actually argue that if you are not getting die-off symptoms when you take a probiotic or any sort of fermented food, you are not taking them properly and you very likely aren't going to see results. When it comes to overcoming Candida, you need to be consuming fermented foods. It is not optional and you need a lot of it. And people think that what I recommend to them is absolutely nuts, but I will tell people to drink up to a quart of fermented liquid a day when you're in the beginning stages of overcoming Candida issues. Now, the reason for this is that we're trying to bring balance back to the ecosystem. Very likely you have the Candida overgrowth due to some amount of antibiotic use or exposure to some sort of antibiotic-like substance in your environment where you had all of the beneficial microbes kind of decimated in your gut and you need vast amounts of them to replenish. Now, the one probiotic that I think people totally miss and is probably the key to unlocking your Candida recovery is raw milk kefir. And I'm not talking about the kefir that's bought from the store. I'm talking about the homemade raw milk kefir. Some places will tell you that you can't even make this, which is a total lie. I just want to say, you're not going to jump full on into that. You might start with a drop, but building your microbiome's tolerance up to a quart of kefir a day is going to be so powerful and such an amazing way to rebalance the beneficial yeasts because kefir has lots of beneficial yeasts. And if you're trying to overcome the pathogenic yeasts, then we need to overpower your gut with the beneficial ones so that the pathogenic ones essentially are forced to die off and they kind of lose their function. So you're going to make homemade 24-hour fermented raw milk kefir, and that is actually going to be one of the best things you can do for any sort of yeast overgrowth symptoms. And so if you're in one of those camps, I would encourage you to challenge your body, challenge your microbiome, because the more you do that very gently and very slowly, the more you're going to see progress. You definitely want to expect die-off, and I know that that's a confusing concept for a lot of people, but you want to expect that your symptoms might actually get worse before they get better, and that's why we need an introduction method that is so gentle and so slow and caters to your specific microbiome's capacity, which is going to be different than mine, and it's going to be different from your neighbors, so don't look around and compare and then chug a bunch of kefir thinking that you are doing a good thing for your body. You need to build drop by drop, very, very slowly, you guys. Okay, number 2, we have to repair the villi because that's where these pathogens are living. We need to repair it so that it's an inhospitable place for these pathogens to colonize and reside. So Candida is an opportunistic pathogen, meaning that if the terrain of your body is functioning and healthy and the villi are healthy and robust and strong, they should look like this shaggy rug, then the Candida that exists in your gut is actually going to be beneficial and even healthy. Now, if the terrain is damaged, if there's lots of toxicity, if there's not enough bile, not enough stomach acid, you're going to start to see this overgrowth of pathogens that will start to bring damage to the villi. Now, the villi are really important. They're your nutrient absorption site in the gut. But when the villi are damaged or your cells start to experience damage, these yeasts become pathogenic for you, even if they would have been beneficial for you in small amounts in your gut had your terrain been healthy. The absolute best way to start repairing the villi and start to honestly fuel your cells with the right minerals needed to keep the terrain of your body healthy is going to be with meat stock. Meat stock is a gelatinous substance that's made from meaty bones. You can cook it on your stove at home. I don't recommend buying it from a store. Make it with short cooked meaty bones, but it's going to have all the amino acids needed to start repairing the tissue of the gut lining. This is going to repair the villi. And this is so important, you guys, because once you're getting all the healthy minerals, all the amino acids for healing, not only are you going to be repairing cells, but you're going to be breeding an environment that is inhospitable to Candida. And the thing that my client started drinking tons and tons of meat stock, you guys, and I'm telling you, she started passing mass amounts of Candida, colonies of it, these little like bubbly, foamy colonies were starting to come out in her stool just by doing this one thing. And that's the power of meat stock. If you're ready to get started with that, honestly, if you say, I want to go on a meat stock cleanse and I'm just going to drink meat stock for a few days and try out this method, for a lot of people, you may just introduce meat stock and that could start to do a lot of that purging work. I have a $17 meat stock mini course linked in the description box of this video that you can go ahead and check out. It's very cheap because I want it to be accessible. I want people to know how to make it properly. And I have one of my best recipes inside of that mini course. So go ahead and check that out. It is so important, you guys. Meat stock is so foundational. I actually have some on the stove right now and it's smelling up this whole house and it smells amazing. So that is number 2. And number 3 is that you have heavy metals. Now, heavy metals are a big reason why Candida can hang around in the body. Heavy metals are just a common one that I see because they're very finicky and they embed and they're very tricky to get out of the body in a safe way. If you can think of yeast in your body like a jelly donut, and I can credit this learning from Lauren Meadowsweet. She taught me about it in this analogy, but it kind of is like a jelly donut. Think about the jelly at the center of the donut being the heavy metal and then the breading around it being the yeast, the Candida, presumably. You can starve the yeast all you want. You can remove all the sugar, all the carbs. You can be on carnivore. It can be amazing. And you can really, really pull back that yeast layer to the point where it's really, really small. But if you still have that toxin, that heavy metal at the center of it, it is going to be nearly impossible to ever fully get rid of that Candida. Now, I don't think Candida is actually even possible to fully kill off. I think there's always going to be some level of it in your gut. But when you have this toxicity element in place, it is actually your body's protective mechanism to keep the yeast around. So at whatever cost, it's not going to let you rebalance fully because the yeast is your body's protective mechanism against the toxins. If you're interested in learning more about heavy metals, I did a whole video about it and I will link it below this video so that you can dig into it and learn what I think is probably the safest way to go about handling those heavy metals. I'm not even allowed to say some of this stuff on a lot of the platforms. I keep getting my videos taken down, you guys. But the inverse ends up being true. When you target the toxicity, when you cleanse your liver and you clear your detox pathways and you do this whole heavy metal process very safely and gently, you end up passing Candida very easily and in mass amounts, almost like it's actually not possible to not pass it because the only reason it was hanging around was because of the toxicity. So when you go about doing any sort of heavy metal, expect to see mass amounts of yeast die off. I can tell you this from personal experience with my son. We did a little bit of extremely gentle heavy metal, you guys, and topical. And when he was just starting out, he got yeast die-off symptoms in the form of eczema and rashes on his skin just from topically doing a on his body that I know he needs, that I think it will be really beneficial. And so it's my job then to support his detox pathways, keep his diet healthy and supportive so that as the yeast is starting to die off and pass away and try to get flushed out of the body, that it's doing so effectively and it's not having to come out through all these other, I would call them secondary detox pathways. And this is what I go into in deeper depth in my Whole Health Blueprint coaching program. Now, the client that I was speaking about from my program, she was on 3 days, you guys, just 3 days of being on the introduction stages of the GAPS protocol, drinking lots and lots of meat stock and starting to just introduce probiotics. And I'm telling you guys, she's been on antifungals, antimicrobials, trying to get rid of this Candida for years. And this was the thing that started shifting her gut to the point where it felt safe enough to pass all of this. This was an amazing sign. Now, did it come with a little bit of discomfort? Did it come with some of the yeast symptoms? Do we need to move slowly and support the detox pathways? Yes. But this was a huge win for her because she was doing it without any of the harsh antimicrobials that she'd been using before, and she wasn't having to revert to antibiotics, which is never fun. So if you're interested in learning more about my Whole Health Blueprint coaching program, you can check out the link in the description to learn more and apply for the program. It is 6 months long, and I teach you really start to finish how to heal your gut, repair the tissue of the gut lining, detox the body, rebalance the nervous system, and really get to the root of your chronic symptoms naturally instead of using all the different Band-Aid solutions that are out there. We're really going to get to the root of it. So I have a couple spots open. Since I made my last video, you guys, I've gotten more people in the program, and I'm not going to be able to take more than a certain number of one-to-one clients for this program. So if you're interested, go ahead and check out the link in the description to apply. We would love to have you, and I will take a quick introductory call if you have questions about it. Once you apply for the program, you'll get information about that call, and I would love to support your healing journey. Okay, so if you got any value out of this video and you're like, yes, Selena, I want you to keep talking about Candida, let me know in the comments. Like the video and subscribe to my channel for more root cause gut health related content like this. It's my passion to help people overcome their chronic symptoms naturally, and we would love to have you here on this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.